Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Book Talk with Cara. Today, I am so excited to have T.I. Lowe back with us today, and we are going to talk about her new book, South to Somewhere. But before we get started with that, T.I., why don't you give us just a quick update on what you've been writing and a quick overview of this novel?
What I've been writing. I'm in the midst of a an aftermath story. I look back, and probably my last five novels were all redemption stories, and I love redemption. I love when someone turns their life around, so to speak. But this time I've been I'm looking at the title, A Southern Goodbye, and it'll be coming out probably fall of 2027. And it's three different people's point of views. They all lose the same person, and so it's their journey of grief. And it's anyone that's gone through grief. I believe if we're adults, and most young adults, we've all been there already in
Mm.
life. So I think that's very relatable. But the journey of grief for everyone is so different, and that's okay. So I thought a story of just exploring that would be good. So that's where I am in the writing world. And in the publishing world, South of Somewhere just came out, and it is a redemption story. That's where I am in mine at the moment. But of
Yeah,
course, there's always other stories floating up in this crazy head of mine. So who knows what's going to come out next?
well, and that's so much the writing life. It's like we've always got all these
Mhm.
different things that we're juggling. Like I was just on a writing retreat and had to write basically a book in that week, and I've got these
Oh,
ideas in
that's
my
fun
head.
though.
Yeah,
Uh
so
huh.
it was so much fun. It was so great to be able to get creative again. But with South of Somewhere is this redemption story. You've got Juniper,
Hmm.
the main character, and she's starting over. And so many of us can relate to that, whether it's like this
Hmm.
major starting over like Juniper has, or sometimes it's this smaller starting over. But how did you
Hmm.
approach writing this character who has to step in? She's kind of going back, and she has to step into the situation of those faithful small steps. What was it like writing her?
It was a journey for me to write her, and I went on that journey with her. And you talked about being faithful in the small steps, and to me, that's more relatable. That's life. We don't get these huge ahas and everything just starts falling into place. It's a long journey into turning your life around, so to speak. And like you said, it could be a small turn. You just only have one corner to turn, and you've got things squared away. Or like Journey or Junie, I tell you what, honey, she went probably cross country doing all kinds of navigation to get her life straightened back out. And I tried not to rush it. I tried to be, representative of the whole rehab and rehabilitation process. But yeah, I just really dove into her character, and I wanted to shed light on someone that, I've not personally struggled with addiction, but I wanted to understand that better. So I went right along on that journey with her.
Well, and that I think is something that you do in this book that can be really a gift to those of us who haven't had that journey because you don't shy away from it. I mean, you take us right
Hmm.
into what that journey of recovery is like. But as you were writing it, I know when I'm writing stories that take readers on a journey, and I haven't written a recovery story per se, but I've written some, like my book that's coming out in May is very much one where I was like, I wanted to be so careful to honor the people who had been on the journey
Hmm.
of the heroine that it was like,
Hmm.
I have to get this right because there are people who have walked her particular journey. Did you feel that same type of, I don't know, responsibility or what the right word is, but to
Yeah.
really like walk that journey and kind of
Hmm.
step into her shoes, I guess?
I mean, you nailed it when you said, you take this subject, and as writers, we have this freedom to create these fictional worlds. But if we're going to focus on a topic like addiction, I feel like, just as you said, I want to honor someone that's really going through that in reality. And I really try to respect the subject by, doing the research. And then I read several memoirs of others recovering from addiction, whether it was alcohol or drugs, and just really, I probably did research about a year before I even started writing the book. And I feel like if you're going to broach a subject like that, you have to do the research. You have to do, um, make sure you're honoring the people that's really going through it. And there's a quote, and I probably said it last time I'm here, and I say it all the time, but I just love this quote, so I'm gonna say it again. But it says, "A writer does not write to be understood. A writer writes to understand."
Mhm.
And again, with this of addiction, I wanted to understand it better because I didn't understand it, and just having more empathy for someone that does go through it, with the process of it. So that's where I was with this one.
Yeah.
Same as you.
Yeah, and I think it's sometimes what makes the writing hard is having to walk
Mhm,
through that journey. But then I think it can really be a gift as a reader when I know the writer has taken that time and has really
mhm.
um, tried to understand and is now giving me the gift of not having to go through it, but I can live it kind of vicariously. And then that deepens my empathy. And that can, I mean, there are so many studies that say that that's one of the benefits of reading fiction is we can really build our empathy. So in this novel,
That's a good
place
point.
also really matters deeply. You've created
Mhm,
Sullivan's Island and the grandmother's beach house and all of these places. So
mhm.
what were you trying to do as you were creating all of these spaces and places for Juniper?
Well, with Southern fiction, the setting's always a character in itself. You have such rich culture that people like. If you're writing Southern fiction, you really need to share it and embrace the setting. And I like the idea of bringing, for one, Sullivan's Island is a very nice island off the coast of Charleston, in that area. And it's big homes and it's a wealthy community. And the reason why I said it there was to show people that, um, just to try to eliminate the stereotypes of an addict.
Hmm.
Addiction doesn't care what social class you're in, does not care what your bank account has. It affects anyone and everyone,
Yep.
and so to speak. So I really wanted, I didn't want to play into any stereotypes of what people think an addict look like. I mean, this is a young woman. She has faith in God. She was raised in a good Christian Southern home, mainly by her grandmother, and then the whole idea of taking her to this beach house, she's surrounded by memories, a place that she found as a haven growing up. But then also, the flip side of that is she has to face she's there alone. Her family has stepped away from her in this process of rehabilitation, because she needs to prove herself to them. Because you keep going when someone keeps screwing up. I know in my life, I've had people, and I'm like, they doing it over and over and over again. I just don't
Hmm.
trust them anymore. And that was
Yeah.
where her family was. And so I tried to really be realistic about how that family was with responded to her too. So um the place where she was really meant a lot.
I love that. And so it was a place where she could retreat and rebuild,
Hmm.
but also then be
Hmm.
confronted by all the memories and what she had lost in the
Yeah.
process.
Hmm.
Yeah, so the recovery community plays an important role in this book, just like it does in a lot of
Hmm.
people's recovery from addiction. So, how did you think about writing that found family? Because found family is so important for many of us, regardless of where we are in our
Yeah.
journey. Um, so, I mean, but it has to feel earned and not just like, oh, we're just going to throw
Hmm.
people around her and they're just going to be like these cardboard cutouts. So, how did
Yeah.
you find that balance?
Well, I did research on different recovery groups. There, even in the AA community, there's open meetings, there's closed meetings, there's all kinds of varieties of meetings. And I did a study. I probably should have pulled it out. I didn't realize it until I was doing research to find a 12-step study. And lo and behold, my publisher, Tyndall House, they have a study. It's called, This is the Recovery Bible. And it's based off the AA 12 steps.
Mm,
And there's a workbook with it. And I went through the workbook just like I would be going through the 12 steps. But one of the things they kept focusing on is you can't do it alone.
mm,
You have to find your community. And, that community it doesn't have to, you don't have to. And the amazing thing of it is, and then I even talked about the different kinds of meetings, and then there's online meetings, there's in-person meetings, there's small groups, there's large groups. And, Junie didn't find her group to begin with. She went through a few and she didn't like the process, didn't
mhm.
like those, but her parole officer wouldn't let her give up until they found the right fit. And I hope that conveys that, just because this group wasn't for you doesn't mean there's not a group for you. And to keep looking until
Yeah.
you find your people.
I love that because it is sometimes it takes time. I mean, we've all
Yeah.
known that when we move somewhere and we have to start finding a new
Hmm.
group, a new community, regardless of why we've moved or, why we're looking for a new place, sometimes it just takes
Hmm.
time and
Yeah.
it's not fun. I remember when we moved to the community we're in, and we've been here a lot longer than I thought we would be. But I just remember the one thing I told God was, I'm like, I don't like church shopping. Don't make me church shop. And I just was
Hmm.
like, I'm moving. I don't want to move, but I'm moving because it's right for my husband. And like, don't make me church shop. And he was so
Hmm.
gracious in answering that, and it was like the
Oh.
second church we went to was the church that we're still going to now, like 23 years later. But just like, I
Hmm.
was like, don't make me do this because I know it can be really hard to find your people. And so
Yeah.
I can imagine when you
That's
add that
right.
that extra layer of,
Hmm.
and I have to, and I'm being forced to, and I've got this parole officer looking over my shoulder. That just adds this whole other,
Hmm.
I don't want to it.
Yeah.
So you've got this other character, Henry, who's an unexpected
Hmm.
presence in Juniper's life. What did you want their relationship to model about healthy connection, or did you even think about that as you were putting it together? Was it that intentional?
It was very intentional placing Henry there. The he was a quiet presence in her life, and he was consistent, and she was used to inconsistencies, and she was used to big, her husband, which they married very young, they were high school sweethearts, they had a what you would consider a toxic relationship. So she knew the only thing she knew about a relationship was it had to be hard and it was
Mm.
difficult. And I wanted, we brought Henry in. I say we, we've got voices in our heads.
Yeah.
We're a little crazy as writers, but just to show her a healthy relationship. He was the model of a healthy relationship. It was not complicated, so to speak. And he generally wanted the best for her. And so I enjoyed writing Henry. Henry's a absent-minded professor, and he was fun to add in there to
I
lighten the
love.
mood too, because the book was heavy in some spots. So Henry had a lot of responsibility in this book. Even
Uh,
though he was a quiet voice, he had a big responsibility.
I love that. And you need that when there's a heavier book. You need those
I think so
moments
too.
where the reader can kind of like catch their breath. Often I'll do that with
Mhm.
pets. I will add pets that can be that like
Yeah.
leavener or children.
Hmm.
Children can also be a great release sometimes. Um,
Hmm.
so this is a faith-filled book, but it's not preachy.
Hmm.
So how did you strike
Hmm.
that balance? Because sometimes it can easily tip over and then you're like, oh, it got a little heavy-handed. And this book doesn't
Hmm.
cross that line. So how did you find that balance?
I approach faith in my books the way I approach faith in real life. Um, I remember one time my agent, we were proposing a book. She says, "Well, what's the faith element of this book?" And I
Mhm.
said, "I don't know yet because once I start writing, God will show up. Just like in real life, God
Yeah.
just shows up in my life, and I live it out. And I feel like if the best testimony you can share with someone is how you live. You don't have to say if you don't really have to say a word.
Mhm.
Just live your faith. And um, I have." I'd never want to be preachy in a book. And a lot of times during the editing process, I'll go back and say, this might be a little too heavy handed. Um, there was a scene where she's talking about the thorn in her side, and she was relating to Paul and when
Mhm.
he talked about the thorn in his side, and it got pretty heavy handed. And then I toned it back. I was like, do you put enough there to let the reader examine it through the lens of their own faith and their own journey and things, and you don't have to really lay it all out there, so to speak. So yeah, I'm very mindful of doing that.
So, I think that's very much the way I approach it too, because 'cause I'm like, it depends on the
I was going to ask you,
characters.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
to me, I've like it should never feel like it's checking a box, but it should be
Hmm.
organic, and it should
Yes.
be, where are they in their journey? And I always, like, if I were gonna say at the beginning, I'm like, I don't know, because it depends so
Hmm.
much on kind of that partnership with God on, okay,
Yeah.
what's right for this book and this set of characters. And sometimes, like, especially when I'm writing suspense, like the book I
Hmm.
wrote 2 weeks ago, it takes place in 2 days. There's not a
Hmm.
lot that can happen developmentally in 2 days with faith, but sometimes there is.
Yeah.
So it just depends
Hmm.
on where they are. And so I really have to kind
I
of,
bet that's hard, just like two
yeah,
days
yeah, like the
worth in
romance. I'm
in
like,
one.
there's not a lot that can happen realistically in 2 days in a romance, you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
So it always, it really, and it like starting out, I wasn't sure if it was going to be 2 days, 2 weeks, or 2 months. And then I was like, yeah, this is a
Hmm.
2 day kind of suspense. And like, okay, that
Hmm.
changes some things. So
It does. And and I don't know about you, but I kind of throw the whole thing out the window that we have to pick a faith element and cram it in there
yeah.
somewhere. Um, Charles Martin, he shared in one of his talks, and it wasn't his quote, but someone else quoted it, and I don't want to. I'll probably get it wrong, but it's basically the world doesn't need more Christian fiction or Christian literature. The world needs more Christians writing good literature.
Mhm.
So I feel like if we approach each book, I'm like, dear Lord, give me the story you want me to tell, and
Yep.
then don't let me get in the way of it. And that's it.
Yeah.
Wherever it goes from there. I'm not saying I never get in the way of it. I'm in the rewriting process of the book, and I had it done. And then I stepped back from it and I got some opinions from my publisher, and I ended up deleting the first 30,000 words. So now I'm
Oh,
rewriting the entire beginning because I didn't have it right. And I'm like, okay, okay, God, I didn't get it right. Let's step back. Let me say this prayer again. Help me tell the story that needs to be told.
yeah.
So mhm.
Yeah.
You just got to be true to whatever story's laid on your heart, right?
Absolutely. And I think that that's what's so beautiful about it is it's that creative partnership where you're
Hmm.
like, okay, my friend Beth Vogt had written a prayer and I have it right next to my computer where I'm writing. And it's basically
Uh-huh.
give me new wine. Don't let me rely on old. Let it
Oh,
always
I
be
like
new
that.
and fresh.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, and let it be a delight. Like going back, go, oh, I didn't
Yeah.
realize I wrote that. And I'm like, that's what I
I
want.
love when I do that.
Yeah. Because
Isn't it
usually,
funny? You read it and you're like, "Oh, I did that? What?"
exactly. And then you're like, because there's always a point where I'm like, I hate this. It's terrible. No one's going to like
Yeah.
it. And I just have to let it go to the editors. And then I'll get it back in rewrites and I'll be like, that's actually pretty good.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm not a fraud. But there's always that point where I'm just
Oh
like,
my
okay.
gosh, yes. And that's where I was at a few weeks ago. I I I did put everything in a file because
Yeah.
it hurt my heart to delete it all. And it's just there like a little security blanket. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's not the right beginning of the story. I sat back and I was looking at the word count and looking at the idea that I was going to have to write so many new chapters, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm a phony. I don't think I'm really. I think I'm
Yeah.
an imposter. I'm not a writer. Well, what were they thinking, giving me a contract on a book? I mean, I went
Yeah.
through all that, and then I was like, just had to lay it down, and then going back through it, and I'm like, it's going to get where it needs to be. It always does, and but
Yeah.
yeah. It's such
Yeah. But
a a roller
it
coaster.
is. It is. And you've got the awards that back it up. I've got the one or
Oh, well,
two that
thank
I
you.
can look at and be like,
Uh-huh.
okay, somebody liked my books at some point in time.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, And you get to where you've got enough of them that you're like, okay, I can do the process. I know I can do the process, but every
Hmm.
book you do hit that point, or I hit that point where I'm
Uh-huh.
like,
I do.
I don't know that I can do this
I've been
again.
going through it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because South of Somewhere is my 21st novel. I'm almost 70,000 words in on this 22nd novel. And I'm like, I've done it this many times, but then
Yep.
every time I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yep. Yep.
I
Because
don't know
every
what I'm
book's
doing.
different. Every book's
Yeah.
different. So for this book in particular, South of Somewhere, do you have a
Uh-huh.
single question that you would love book clubs to debate? Like if you could be a fly on the wall, is there one question that you would love to hear
Yeah.
book
Oh
clubs
my
talk
gosh.
about?
I don't know, but I always put book club questions in the back of my book. Let me flip through them real quick. And I do write these questions. Now my editor, she'll come back and she'll suggest some other ones. But let me see. Because there's so many things that can be talked about in this one. It's,
Yeah, there's so much richness to
the
pull out.
addiction, the rehabilitation, but one thing, another theme of the story is exploring sibling relationships. So
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
question about that. Both, it says another theme of this story is exploring sibling relationships, both estrangement and reconciliation. Why are sibling relationships sometimes complicated? I think they're always complicated.
Yeah.
Um, but and that, even if you can't relate to someone if you don't have a loved one that's gone through addiction or if you've not done it yourself, there's topics that will resonate. And I think the sibling
Yeah.
question will really get people talking because
Yes. Most
most
of us
people have
have
a
at least
story,
one.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, what are three words that kind of encapsulate the vibe of this book?
I would say for sure redemption,
Mhm.
hope. Our state motto uh, is while I breathe, I hope.
Oh,
And I'm in South Carolina, and that is a theme that goes through the entire book. So hope, um, redemption, hope, and community.
I love that.
Hmm.
Three great words. And
Well, thank
then
you.
if someone likes X, they'll like this book. So, is there another author that if you like this author, you'll like this one? If you like this movie, you'll like this book. If you like this book, you'll like this book.
Um, I don't know that I want to recommend it, so to speak, but it's the common theme of a mother messing up and starting over is the same thing that's in Reminders of Him by Colleen
Hmm.
Hoover.
Yeah.
So, if you're wanting a little bit more of a faith-filled journey in that, perspective, yeah, South of Somewhere.
Yeah. I love that. And then, do you have a favorite line? And you might not, but do you have a favorite line from the book?
I think it would have to be "While I breathe, I hope."
Yeah.
I still hope. I mean, because she says that quite a bit in the book, um, and it just wove right through. But yeah, for sure, anybody, as long as we're
Yeah.
breathing, there's still hope. There's still hope to change.
I love
Still
that.
hope that things will turn around for us.
Okay. So, Tanya, where can people
Uh-huh.
find you and your books and learn more about you?
Yeah. Well, I have a website, tilow.com. I have a newsletter if you want to sign up for that. And especially for the month of April, I try to send it out about mid-month. I have a few authors that's got new books coming out, as well as my book. And I want to do a big giveaway for just my subscribers in that newsletter. So definitely sign up for that. I don't know about you, but I don't like a lot of stuff in my inbox. We get enough of
Yeah.
that, so I only send out maybe once or twice a month, and I'm easy to get along with. And of course, I'm on all the socials. But I would say Instagram is my favorite, just as a social media subscriber because it's short, it's brief. I can catch up with you real quick there and see what's going on in your life. So that's where I tend to do most of my posting.
I love
And then,
that.
of
Well,
course, anywhere books are sold, right?
yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me today, TI. And it's been so fun to catch up about your book, and it's available
Yeah.
wherever books are sold. So Thanks for
Well,
stopping
thank you for
by.
having me again. Yeah. It's always a joy to talk to you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.